childhood quite a lot, because although I come from a big family, there's 4 of us. I'm the youngest, so
I'm the youngest of 5.
so it's really
That's
interesting
cool.
to say that you've kind of gone down the route of having kids.
Yeah.
And I think, well, I thought for me, the reason I've been against it is actually coming from a big family and watching my mum and dad just, everything was just so chaotic. Like I remember just my mum when I was younger, she's always shouting, always really, I mean, she was a great mum, very loving, but it was just, everything was so chaotic.
Stressful.
And I was just thinking, I was out the house a lot, and I wanted to get out the house, and I never got the chance to be maternal young, I think. So I just think, I never thought about kids. I never thought about my future at all. I think I just was always just getting through the next day. And I've kind of said before a lot that it was my big thing was to become independent, financially stable, and just have a less chaotic life. And I kind of got to that stage quite early on in my life. I met my husband, Chris, and it just happened. Everything kind of fell into place for us. And I think from that, it got to the point, maybe I was 25, then I started thinking, do I actually want kids? Am I now thinking about it? And at that time, all my family, like, it was an explosion of kids in the family at the same time. There's 5 now, and there's 1 on the way.
Oh my gosh, fun.
So I went from having no experience of having kids with loads. And actually, everyone who would say, you'll know when you know, and you'll meet kids, and then you hold that first baby, and you'll feel this way, and you'll want them for yourself, and that will just be you, and you'll just have a big family. And the first time I held a baby, I could honestly say I just didn't feel anything. Like, it's not, I think it's cute, like they're nice. I always knew I didn't think I would like the baby phase. Like, I like toddler phase. I like being able to, I like when they're cheeky, like to kind of interact with them. But I didn't. And I just, from there, that was when I started the journey to really decide, right, do I want kids? Why do I not want this? I felt quite what's that word? Felt very torn about the decision, because everyone kept on saying, oh, you want them.
Yeah, the pressure you get from people, like, even when you do have kids, people just expect you to never stop. Like,
just produce.
Oh, that's your other one and your last one in school. When's the next one coming? And maybe they're just saying that as like a sly comment and stuff like that, or like try to be cute or funny. But you don't understand the psychological effect that you have on someone, because you think, you're running out of time, you better knock them out quick. Like, that's not how I would have kids. Like, I don't knock them out quick and like give all my 20s away to just be like raising and producing children. Like,
when you're actually trying to discover yourself.
See, I've always thought that in the media, do you know, when someone famous has a kid, it's always like they've had their first child, and it's just, why do they always have to say first? Like, they never just say they've had a child. And I just feel like it's very presumptuous that they're going to have a second and a third. I don't know, that's maybe just the way I've seen it, but it's always like, oh yeah.
It's like noticing it.
And I know it's your first is going to be a big thing, but when you say first, to me, I was assuming that there's going to be a second. There's going to be more. Whereas it's not always the case. So I can see that. There's always like pressure. Either way, it always seems everyone's on this timeline. And again, now I'm approaching 30, it's even a bigger thing, because although I feel like I have decided probably not going to have them, I might adopt, I might do various things at certain stages, and I've thought about that. However, it's still this kind of hurdle I need to get over, because I feel like my decision is not validated until I turn 40, because there's always that voice at the back of my head, or because someone has said, oh, it's different when you're 30, you'll switch. And I've had quite a lot of people say that as soon as you turn 30, oh, so-and-so didn't want kids because they're finding themselves in their 20s. They get to the 30s, oh, that's when you're going to want them. And I was like, well, is it really? Because I just don't, I don't really know. I just feel I've got to this stage and I haven't. And nothing's changing, so I really don't see what's going to make a massive difference when I turn 30.
It's really funny to like see how it makes people uncomfortable to like see you happy within yourself without needing to like fill that kind of like, I guess, quote unquote, like void that people create. Like, the void isn't there unless you feel like it's there. But it's like, so it's like, if I like, why does it make people uncomfortable when I say like, oh, like I don't think I want anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? Or like maybe I do, but at the moment, definitely not. Like, yeah, because I've got 2 boys, and I had them like really young. Like I was pregnant at 19, and so, and at the time, it was what I wanted. Like, do you know what I mean? But like, if like again, if I would have got pregnant later on, or if I wouldn't have got pregnant, I think I would have still at this point not had kids. Like, do you know what I mean? Again,
Yeah.
I was like super young, so like I wasn't like really smart with like, you know, like condoms and stuff like that. Like, yeah. And obviously I love my kids. Like they really had like such a big impact on me, but it's like I had to push down and put in the backseat a lot of my like trauma and like all this different stuff that had happened to me, because I had to now raise 2 other kids to make sure they didn't go through the same thing I went through. And so it's like you do have to put yourself in the back seat for years, like literally until they're probably the youngest. Like Atticus was probably about like 3, was I able to say like, okay, now it's time to do some like personal growth like type stuff. So
well, yeah, I think that's the image I get of having kids at a young age from just being around friends and family members who have them. And in the first 5 years, I would say, well, you obviously clarify if I'm wrong with here, but it's you're in a kind of fight or flight mode, and you're just constantly there to be able to nurture them and make sure that they are going on the right path, because you won't have time to really think of yourself as much. And I think there's an element of naivety to it. I think when I was 22, I think there was a time in my relationship with Chris that we went away. I just graduated from my first degree, and I didn't know where I was going. I was quite a bit lost in my career. I was a bit lost in just myself and my identity. And I think if I had gotten pregnant at that stage, I would have been over the moon, and I would have really, that's what I would have wanted.
Yeah,
and
that's so true.
And I just find that it is there. People will say to me, "Oh, you know, you regret this decision." I don't know if it's necessarily a regret. It will be, there might be another time in my life that I feel that a child would be suitable.
Yeah.
But it's not, and I think it could be fleeting and it would go away. I think I need to look at it from the long term picture. There was that year before I found my career, before I found my kind of calling, if you
Your
want
purpose,
to call it that. That was because maybe I thought a child would fill that void, and it would have, and I would have loved it. And you know, people say to me, "Oh, it's a shame that you're not going to have children because you make a great mum," but like, I know I would make a great mum, but I would also make a great lots of other things. And it doesn't.
Oh my God. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's funny when people say that, and I was like, do you know, I get people will say something like, "Oh, you'd be a great designer. You'd be great this. You'd be great. You know, you're a great cook, you could do this." And it's like, yeah, but I'm not off to be a chef. I'm not off to be a designer.
I don't want that.
Yeah, and it's just like, you can be, I think a better thing that if people say that to me now, that used to bother me massively, because I'm thinking I should be a mum because of that. But then I'm thinking, no, I could be a great role model for kids.
Yeah,
and I
for
have.
Sure.
And I am doing that. Like, well, I worked in schools for 6 years.
Yeah.
I loved it. I love working with teenagers. I find them so interesting. Just the things that they come out with. And they haven't, at that age, I think, in teenagers, they don't have that veneer that I think adults get, where they kind of realise there's certain things that are maybe they shouldn't say, or they're kind of off topic, and they'll just say what they think. And they're the most creative, I think, at that age. But yeah, you know, I just feel like that's what I could be, a role model. I could be a great aunt. I could be a great role model for my friends' kids. Like, it's not me choosing to not have children doesn't mean that you're
not going to stop being like almost like a parental figure. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you can still adopt like the roles of being like, I don't know, like, a good role model, and like spread it out rather than having to only focus it within your home. You're able to spread it out and to children who might not have that at home, which is like really honorable. And I feel like I don't think that's appreciated enough in society and within like the social family dynamics. Like, yeah. Because like, as you said, when like, if you would have had a child, like when I was 19, I was so depressed. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I was like a shell of a person. Like, and then I felt like my kid gave me that purpose. Like, do you know what I mean? But it took me so much longer to find my actual purpose, because again, it was delegated at that time, which is like still like my purpose is like I'm a really good mom. Like I like know my kids like love me. I know that they feel loved. I feel loved, and it's all reciprocated. And they're really, really good kids.
They're not just good kids. Like you've got them. I was like telling her last night, when I have kids, I'm gonna ask her all the questions because her kids are amazing.
But like so that's what I mean is like so now it's to the point where it's like I'm getting so much pressure to have more because I'm with like a new partner. Like I'm not with the kid's dad anymore. And he wants kids and he doesn't have kids, obviously. And so now I feel all this pressure from different sides that now we're like settled and like, you know, properly together, we're engaged. It's like, when's the baby coming? And it's like, I've literally just started my life, like, you know, my own life. Now that the kids are in school, I can actually delegate time to just me and my business and my focus. And it's like now all of a sudden I'm getting this pressure. And again, I'm 29. So like they're like, oh, you're running out of time. Yeah. I'm just like, fuck off. Fuck off, guys. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. My mom